Here's the problem right here. From the New York Post, Hollywood stars are fleeing to Austin amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And I warned y'all this would happen. When there's that comic of Joe Rogan, and he's got his little pull bag, you know, whatever, his roller bag, and he's walking from California to Texas, and the bag says liberal policies on it.
Should have been a fanny pack, by the way.
And it says liberal policies on it, and there's a cowboy saying like, hey, hold on there, mister, why don't you leave that where you got it? Everyone's like, yeah, but is Joe Rogan really going to be bringing these policies with him? He may be fairly like lefty in a lot of ways, but he's very anti-authoritarian. And he has staff. Mm-hmm. And he is going to run a business like with you know, he's got his comedy aspirations. He wants to have shows. He started a club. There you go. Got to hire people. So what's going to happen? The people from the industry in California are going to be like, well, Joe Rogan's hiring. I guess I'll go out there. And those are rational people. They're not far lefties, but they're a little lefty. They'll probably still vote Democrat. And then the rest of the Hollywood stars are going to be like, did you hear that Elon Musk and all of these really fun and amazing people are moving to Austin? I should go there too. And now you've got a bunch of Hollywood celebrities being like, Austin's the place to be. And guess what? They're going to bring all their staff.
And they're going to bring all their lefty politics with them.
That's right. Because the person who makes $50,000 a year carrying the coattails of some Hollywood celebrity is not going to be conservative. They're going to be like to those according to their needs or whatever. That's what they're going to be advocating for. So they're all going to come, and Texas is going to go.
Well, maybe. You think?
I definitely think so.
Well,
Here,
if
look.
that's the case, okay. So if that's the case, so the New Yorkers are fleeing to Florida. We've seen that. Californians are fleeing to Texas. That's happening. So where the hell are we supposed to go?
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky. I almost said Texas again. I mean Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia.
I know Louisville is has some interesting stuff going on.
Where's that?
Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
Kentucky.
Louisville?
See, I don't even know.
Yes,
I don't even know.
Ian was like, what's that?
What is that? Yeah, I don't know.
Who's that?
Good point. I don't even know. Louisville, actually, that's in Colorado. So maybe.
Yeah,
let me just pretend I got that mixed up.
Sure.
Entertaining.
Nashville, I hear, is doing pretty good.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
You've got
Daily Wire's
Daily Wire's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody.
I definitely want to visit.
It was so reactive for everybody to be like Texas, and I'm like, that's like a trope about Texas being this like free and very red state. It's like it was almost 50-50 this past couple of elections, and Austin is deep blue, and it's attracting all of the hipsters. It's been since South by Southwest, as far as I can remember.
Right, that's
very
true.
hipster.
Well, Austin has been for a long time. What about like maybe Eastern Montana?
No. Montana and Wyoming, 100%.
Oh yeah, Wyoming.
You want to go live in the middle of nowhere and rough it and figure it out for yourself. Do it.
You could do that.
I think Bozeman might be a little blue though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying Eastern Montana.
Yeah. I've driven through there. It's awesome.
It's beautiful. You can't even get cell service. For
I'm saying, look, so we didn't want to move to a place where we're going to get the influx of the progressive faux activist. I don't even think it's fair to call the Hollywood stars leftists. That's unfair to leftists. It is. Like, if I can sit here and have a conversation with an actual communist who believes in communism and genuinely believes in communism, I can respect them actually standing up and being honest. These Hollywood, even though I disagree with them, the Hollywood stars, they don't believe in anything. They're just saying, they're just like, bleh. So we're looking at places to go.
They're opportunists.
Absolutely. They're like, whatever the corporations want me to say, so they pay me money.
They're models, glorified models.
Yeah.
They're marketing. It's marketing. They're literally marketing tools for movies and for shows. So of course they're going to side with corporate America and say whatever they think will sell more.
Doesn't mean that they don't know stuff. Some of them are probably incredibly educated on the thing.
Well, sure,
so
James Woods.
Yeah, you get the.
He's a little mean though.
You know, your job is to keep your mouth shut, though. So if they do know what's going on, they will get ostracized if they speak up.
Like James Woods.
Like happened to me, basically. I stopped getting called back when they started my YouTube videos. 2007, that was rough.
Look, we were trying to find a place where we can get away from the cities, have space, and expand. And we were in the Philly area, and it was nuts. It was one of the worst states for restrictions. And they told us, like in March, don't go outside anymore. Unless you have no choice. They were like, don't walk around with people. And we were like, this is crazy.
It's insane.
But we look at Texas, and I'm like, I can see what's going to happen in Texas. I can see what's going to happen with these Hollywood, California, Arizona, Colorado. They're all going to keep coming in. And then there you go. You end up with hipster blue state. Now, West Virginia is losing people. People are, because there's this phenomenon. It's really fascinating. Even in red states, urban centers tend to be blue for some reason. So even in West Virginia, you have blue areas. The people who are there There was an article I was reading in the AP, and this woman was like, I'm a teacher, and this is horrible. The state is terrible. I'm leaving. I'm going to Texas. And then I was like, yes, get out of here. West Virginia, man. You've got a lot of opportunity. We were looking at some small dying towns. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we went to an area that used to be bustling with life and it's got buildings and infrastructure, but now it's an opportunity zone because the industry left. We could save money. We could have available resources and internet. Found a bunch of towns just like that. The problem, no good airports. So bringing people in would be impossible. So then we find this area basically, which is the compromise where we're close enough to an airport, but kind of far away. But this facility is still in Maryland, so it kind of sucks. But
there is that. I mean, I love this idea of like revitalizing a dead town. There was like an entire town in Connecticut. I think I saw like a year or so ago. The entire town was for sale.
wow.
Meghan McCain talks about this. Well, I don't want to live in Connecticut. Good God. But Meghan McCain talks about this on Instagram a lot. She's like, let's create a new place to live. We'll just all go move there. And there's something to that idea of like, just everybody just go to some town and turn it into a place where you want to be.
Like all solar panels on every roof. You don't need a central electric grid.
Well, whatever,
that'd be awesome.
that could be your town.
Well, so we're planning this.
You can have different towns.
So
real near
different
each
towns,
other.
yeah.
All the train.
We have this.
Totally, we could get like some light rail going.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
You think we're joking?
I'm not
Oh,
joking.
no, yeah,
No, I'm
serious.
not joking at all.
I
I need a place to live, so
Let's build
let's
one.
build one.
No. We've been planning it for the past couple of weeks.
Nice.
So we need a bigger production facility. This place we're in right now can host a few of the shows we're doing, but we've got so much happening and so many people that we're like, okay, we need another building. We need another space because we don't have the offices for this place. I love how the media is like, Tim Pool bought an 8-bedroom mansion. It's like, yeah, we rent out half of it for production, and the other half is basically a green room essentially where people are like working.
Plus, why can't you have whatever you want? Like, have your big house if you want.
Well, sure. But what I mean is, they try to make it seem like the purpose of the house is we're all just like, we have a theater room and a game room and a bowling room, and it's like, well, we have an office, a studio, So we need another building so we can actually alleviate some of that pressure.
And so that you can have the bowling room and the game room.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. I mean, we do have a skate park here.
2 lanes.
Which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
to be fair.
So here's the plan. I was looking for these places in West Virginia where we would just start building something. Because it's actually surprisingly not that expensive if you're building just like a standard like office unit kind of building. And we went to, I forgot where we were going. I don't remember where we were going, to the mall or something. And we took the scenic route and we drove through a bunch of these small towns in West Virginia that were just nothing. Like they're just little houses. And then I was like, a lot of these places are for sale for cheap. They need work to fix them up. But why bother trying to build this massive unit and get utilities installed and all that stuff when we could literally buy like 3 of these houses for the same price and then have twice as much space as we normally would. We wouldn't have the acreage, but we'd have a decent amount of acreage. And then we actually just have a little urban hub, suburban hub, where we have like that building. Oh yeah, that's where they do video editing. That building is where they do the game design. And so then you have a little town instead of a building.
Right.
I think that'd be epic.
That sounds really badass.
Sounds way better than going to Austin with a bunch of Hollywood celebrities who are just like vomiting up faux activism.
And who have absolutely no principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're in West Virginia, which is the second reddest state in the country.
Okay.
You know what the funny thing is, though?
I'll come. Like, I'm in.
All right. Bring your friends.
We'll bring the Post Millennial to the new town. We'll be like the resident newspaper.
Great, yeah.
This is the funniest thing, though. Check it out. I've long maintained this, even going back to the days of like Ron Paul, because I don't completely agree with Ron Paul's conservative positions in a lot of ways, but I do agree with his libertarian positions of like, leave me alone. I'm like, I like that. See, the issue is, if you were a true left libertarian, you are better off voting for and supporting right libertarians, real ones. The problem with like the Libertarian Party is they're all kind of like out of their mind, except for now you've got, Dave Smith and the Mises Caucus guys who are pretty savvy and on the level. But here's the thing. There's no situation by which you can vote in the modern system, left libertarians, and actually get a cooperative system that you want. But if you have in a Ron Paul style government of limited government, then you and your friends can be free to get together and do what you want to do without being oppressed by outside forces.
Which really should be, that's Americanism. That's like what that is. It's an individualistic perspective. What we have on the left these days is so much of it is about these principles that they tout, these principles of compassion and whatever else, but there's literally nothing that they wouldn't sacrifice for this mythological conception of the greater good.
We were talking about this with Vosh. I think this was on the bonus segment because I didn't talk as much on the bonus segment. We argued a little bit more, and I think Charlie had brought this up. Charlie Kirk brought this up, and then I agreed that basically there's no real good way to scale left libertarianism, because the idea of libertarian socialism eventually becomes authoritarian because there's no way to enforce. Once the lines of communication go 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, then you're forcing people to do things they don't want to do. It's an impossible thing to scale.
All governments probably become authoritarian, right?
Well, right libertarianism to a certain extent, maybe not. And I don't mean far right, like laissez-faire capitalism. I mean like leaning more towards free enterprise with light regulation, like very light. Then you'll end up with people choosing where they want to live, buying what they want to buy. It's negotiated, it's trade.
But you got corporate authoritarianism in that direction.
That's why I said light regulation. So you have the means by which the people can still cooperate to stop the centralization of power. And so here's what I'm saying. If there is a left libertarian system, how does it expand to actually encompass and guarantee your rights in a large space where you're hundreds of miles away from somebody else?
You need like isolated pockets of it that can co-interoperate.
But so the issue then is there's not. So if you had a government that was left libertarian, that is encompassing the entire state. You then have people in the northwest part of the state saying, I don't agree with what the southeast is imposing on us, and now you are getting into authoritarianism. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that it is authoritarian, it's that people are not going to start fighting, and it's hard to have a cohesive system. If the system itself is right libertarian, then you can be like us here up in the northwest. We operate on a left libertarian principle of libertarian socialism. If you want to move here are the rules. If you're not, that's fine. You can go and do your own thing. And then everyone agrees, and they all work together, and they can share their vegetables without using money. And then the right libertarian people is the overarching system where it says we're going to leave you all alone. Unless there's the non-aggression principle, and unless you've got the currency and the negotiating skills, you can't come in and screw with these people. Then on your own little hippie farm, you can do whatever you want. That, I think, works out pretty great.
Maybe,
unless, except that it's a very similar type of thing, right? Because you still then have a sort of group ideology that rules everything, and individuals are not permitted to go against that group ideology.
But like in a small farm?
I don't know. That's
like if I own a farm and you want to live,
commune type of thing. I mean, if it's your farm, right,
exactly.
and it's like your actual farm, then I wouldn't move there if I didn't want to go along with your thing.
And there
but
you go.
like then we're also, cults do that too. Like, did you guys see that Netflix documentary about that little town in Oregon that was taken over by this weird cult? It was like
no, wow,
weird like public sex cult thing. It was very
interesting.
Weird.
It was weird.
I'm saying there's one very famous commune.
But they pushed out all of the people who lived there originally. So the people who lived there originally had this sort of, they were just like doing whatever, they were mostly older folks, retired. There was like a little cafe or whatever. So these cult people moved in. They all started wearing the exact same outfits all the time. And they basically ran for city government, and they pushed out the people who were there. And they took over the town.
Right, that's when you get into authoritarianism. That's why I'm saying left libertarianism doesn't scale. It eventually just becomes authoritarian. So the true ideal of left libertarianism would be like a farm with like a bunch of hippies hanging out, and they're friends with each other, and they're a family or whatever.
I guess a little utopian.
There's a very famous one that's got 100 person capacity, and people apply, and then they say, here are the rules, and then they come in and they stay as long as they want, and when they're done they leave, and then it opens up a position for someone else.
Somebody else can come in. Yeah.
So it's capped at 100, and everyone knows the rules, and everyone agrees, and they arbitrate disputes between people, but for the most part it is a cooperative, and the people with seniority are the ones who basically say like, okay, if you're new here, we're going to protect the people who are here, but people rotate.
Interesting.
You get bigger than that, and you start swallowing up other people's jurisdictions, and then it just becomes
why can't we have a city that respects people's individual liberties and doesn't capitulate to authoritarianism? Like maybe a nice big city with some,
because people don't want to work. That's probably it. So I think
I'm so happy to work. I'm so grateful to have a job all the time. I'm like,
too.
yay, I have a job.
But look at what look at what we're seeing now with the current trends in business, the labor shortage. I saw somebody posted a meme, and they were like, it was two stands, like kiosks, and one had a huge line of people and the other didn't. And the huge line of people said $17 an hour, and the other kiosk said minimum wage. And then they commented like, maybe if these businesses paid better wages, people would want to work there. And I say, that's not true. The problem isn't that they're not paying enough. It's that the government's paying them for nothing.
Well, that's what the president said. The president basically told, there was like one of those stupid town hall things on CNN, and a business owner was like, hey, I can't get anyone to come work at my restaurant. And Biden was basically like, maybe you should pay more.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy's like, oh yeah, I should pay more with like restrictions and, you know, how is he supposed to make any money if he can't get anyone to work there?
So it's obvious. If you're paying someone $16 an hour not to work, that means they can literally sit there staring at the wall or play video games. Mm-hmm. If someone comes and says $17 an hour to work 40 hours, you'd be like, you're paying me $1 an hour.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Because zero has now become $16 an hour.
Right.
The interesting thing about this is that people will accept the $300 bonus check until $300 is literally worth nothing. Because think about it. Let's say right now the government's like, okay, $300 per week is a bonus. And you're thinking, okay, $300, that can buy me enough groceries for about a week. Inflation hits because they're mass printing of money without any resources being produced. So within a couple of weeks or a month, now they're like, okay, $300 can get me about 65% of the way through the week in terms of groceries. I'll take it. It's free, right? That carries on until eventually you're like, $300. It's a free cheeseburger.
Right.
I'll take a free cheeseburger.
Right.
No matter what happens, it's free something. No matter how much or how little it is a free something. So until $300 becomes worth zero, people will never give up free money. Granted, a free cheeseburger, you'll still have to get a job then. But then we're still driving hyperinflation.
Depends on how big the cheeseburger is. But yeah, I mean, I think also part of the devaluing of work and devaluing the work ethic is part of our culture that devalues life. We devalue the individual. We say, you know, you're not worth anything unless you're famous. You're not worth anything unless you're rich or any of these other things. You know, be driven by your pleasure principles. Don't be driven by interest and responsibility and, you know, stewarding families or any of this. You know, the message that we get is to like, it's idiocracy, right? It's Mike Judge's idiocracy. It's like sit around, jerk off, eat cheeseburgers, and don't care about yourself. Don't care about other human beings. Don't care about your own worth.
If aliens ever come to Earth, they will shake hands with humans not because they overcame nuclear weapons, but because we overcame the Xbox. I can't remember what that quote is from. It's a little bit old because Xbox is
a little bit old, yeah.
Well, no, I mean everyone plays PlayStation, right? That's the real issue. No. Anyway, the point is, video games.
Are you shilling for Microsoft right now?
No, I'm mocking them for being, less popular.
Xbox.
Video games trigger, dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's replaced our actual goals and drives and desires. We are addicted to we're not doing substantive things anymore.
I've been feeling nihilistic lately, and it's partly, I think, and I'm kind of trying to locate why. What I've come to is I keep wanting to solve the world's problems. It's in this lifetime. I feel like I can, and I'm going. If I don't, then I failed, and it's driving me insane because it's such a big problem and groupthink and herd mentality. And I realize, or at least I'm thinking, maybe we're just planting the seeds of the trees we'll never see.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's a long game. It's a long project. But also, doesn't the project have a lot to do with how we interact with each other on a personal level, how we go about our daily lives? Being kind to each other is so meaningful. I don't think that can be overestimated. It sounds dumb and Pollyanna-ish, and I've been accused of Pollyannaism before.
What's that?
Pollyannaism, where you're just like hopelessly optimistic despite being
hit
fun. With meteors all the time.
It's a dog sitting in a burning building saying this is fun.
But I do think that what really matters in life are the kind moments that we have with one another. I think that's what.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.